wise. I live his my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live his my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live his my life. While we wait.
Greetings to everyone. Hello, Facebook, YouTube, and to my podcast listeners. I'm Patryce Bryant, and I'm the host of While We Wait. We're certainly happy that you're here today, and it's a great day to be alive. It's also a great day to be here on While We Wait because I am elated to have the noted America's Rabbi with us on today, and in the person of Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I'm going to pull Michelle out because we want to give him the bulk of the time because he's got some great stuff. We're going to be talking about business secrets from the Bible. Michelle, how are you today?
It is a wonderful day to be above ground, as always, and no place I'd rather be every Thursday than on the While We Wait platform. So glad to be here.
Thank
and
you.
I've got my notebook ready.
Always. And the pen. So let me do this. Thank you, everyone, for being on today. As you know, I'm actually ecstatic about this whole segment today. Let me tell you a little bit. There's just so much, but thank God for the bio, and it gives the point, the main points. But he's done so much. Rabbi Daniel Lapin, known widely as America's Rabbi, is a noted rabbinic scholar, bestseller, author, and TV host. He is president of the American Alliance of Jews and Christians, author of America's Real War, Thou Shalt Prosper, and other bestsellers. A frequent guest on Fox News, Wall Builders Radio, and Glenn Beck TV. He hosts his own popular radio and podcast programs with audiences worldwide. With his wife, Susan, he hosts the weekly television show Ancient Jewish Wisdom on the TCT television network. And without further ado, we're going to pull out the rabbi, America's Rabbi, and now my rabbi. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Patryce. It's so wonderful to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be talking today about business secrets from the Bible. And I have to say, out of the top, and even Thou Shalt Prosper and some of the YouTube clips that I've been listening to, your take on spirituality is so wonderful because even drinking water is spiritual. And there are some religious people, and a lot of it is like old cultures that kind of take spirituality out of context. So I want to stop right there really quick because you said making money is a spiritual activity. Business transactions are spiritual. Commerce is spiritual. Talk to us about spirituality today.
Well, the important thing, first of all, I think, is definitions.
Yes.
We can't just use words until we all agree on what their meaning is.
Yes,
Otherwise, there's no real communication going on at all. And so the two opposites are physical and spiritual. Mm-hmm. And physical means any quantity that can be measured in a laboratory. So, for instance, my weight is a physical thing.
Yes.
My skin color, physical thing. My height, physical thing. But there are other parts of me that are far more important than my physical characteristics.
Yes.
My integrity, my ability to communicate, my creativity, my experience. There is no way to measure any of those things in a lab. None whatsoever. And in life, overwhelmingly, our most important things about us are the spiritual, not the physical.
Yes.
The only time it matters physical is if I'm a photographic model. And I can assure you, nobody has offered me a job as a model.
You never know, though, Rabbi. You never know.
Oh, yes, I know.
I have a question. Is religion, the concept of religion, does that fall under the spiritual or the natural?
Any concept is spiritual because you can't touch a concept.
Love that. Thank you.
And so, so if you want to hire somebody, you want to know about whether they have persistence, whether they'll stick to a job. No way to measure it. You want to know that they're honest. No way to measure that. You want to know that they're optimistic and can keep going even when the going's rough. No way to measure that. If there was, and you came up with it, you'd make $1 billion, because there's no HR department of any company in the world that would not buy your test if you could actually measure people's integrity and creativity and persistence and optimism. Those are the things we care about.
Yes.
Now, if you want to hire somebody as a swimsuit model, then you probably are looking at other things as well. I get it. But overwhelmingly, when we're looking to hire somebody, we're interested primarily in the spiritual characteristics.
Okay.
Now, it's not an accident that Karl Marx, who hated the idea of people making money, because only government is supposed to make money, and today progressivism and modernism all take the same approach, which is that it's better for people to be dependent on governments than it is for them to be financially independent. And it's not an accident that Marx divided the world up by skin color, by race, by gender, and by class, by how much money you've got. And the reality is that that's simply not what we do in real life. When we choose friends, invariably our friends are people with whom we share values, not physical characteristics.
True.
I can be friends with people of any race. I can be friends with people of any gender. I can be friends with rich people or poor people. I don't care about those things. Nobody really does.
Yeah.
But I care about shared values. I don't have much of a friendship with somebody if we have no shared values, because we have no basis to communicate even.
That's true.
And so whether I'm looking for an employee, or whether I'm looking for a friend, or even if I was looking for a spouse. Now there, I would look for beauty, but that's also not a physical characteristic. We have no mechanism to measure beauty. There isn't such a thing, because it's all in the eye of the beholder.
True.
And so again, primarily when I'm looking for a spouse, I'm looking for somebody who'll share my values. And when I find somebody who shares my values, they start looking more beautiful by the day.
That's good.
So in real life, other than a few narrow areas, we're looking for spiritual characteristics. The United States military tells me that and the overwhelming majority of the time, when they're looking for people to enlist and people to promote, they're looking for spiritual characteristics. They say that the United States underwater demolition, the SEAL team, has 5% to do with muscles and body, and 95% to do with soul and spirit and mind.
Yeah.
So when we speak about spiritual, we're talking about things that cannot be measured. So, for instance, there is no machine that can measure the value of a dollar bill. Now, you might say, wait a second, Rabbi Lapin, what are you talking about? I've seen vending machines, and you pop a dollar bill, and if you try and pop in a blank sheet of paper of the same dimensions as a dollar bill, it'll reject it. So obviously, it can measure a dollar bill. And the answer is no, it can measure that what you're inserting is what is conventionally accepted as a dollar bill, but it cannot tell you the value. No machine can tell you the value. And what I mean by that is that right now in the United States of America, at the time we're talking, at the end of March 2022, there is a very serious inflationary problem going on. And that means that if you have $1,000 in your bank account and you just leave it there, within a year, it'll be worth about 900, maybe less. So you will have lost the value. There is no machine. There's no computer that can do that because money is fundamentally spiritual.
That's good. And very informative. Now, you said in your book, when we are hired by an employer, we should, or the employer is actually our customer. Did I get that right?
I'm saying that it's really important to see yourself as being in business for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Talk
I've
to
heard
us
it
about
called intrapreneurship rather than entrepreneurship. So you're an
Well,
intrapreneur within
what
your
it
company.
means is that you have to realize that nobody cares about your bank account more than you do. And
That
so,
is true.
That's true.
yeah, no, it really is. And so what that means is that you have to take charge of your financial life. You can't just say, well, I got a job. No, you've got to make sure you have the best job you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure that you're doing the best thing. And you got to make sure that you are noticed and valued and in line for promotion. You've got to be watching all of those things. And it's most helpful if, when you think of yourself as being in business, you think of yourself as the owner of a company that leases out your services.
Mm-hmm.
It's your company.
Yes.
And one of your main customers is whatever the employer is that employs you. But it doesn't mean to say they should be your only customers. There's no reason to say why you can't do additional work in the evenings or on weekends or whenever it is.
Absolutely.
One can generate more than one stream of income, and one should do that.
Yes.
And one is better equipped to do it if you start learning to think of yourself as the CEO of You Incorporated.
That's good.
Can I ask a follow-up on that, if I may? You mentioned the multiple streams of income, which I completely echo, agree, and concur with. Is there a biblical foundation for that concept of having more than one stream of income? And if so, where does it come from?
Yeah. So that's a great question, Michelle. And there is no chapter or verse that'll point to that in detail, because there is also no specific chapter or verse that says, don't step out into the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are overall principles. One of the principles is in Hebrew, it's called Ushamartem et nafshotechem. It's a verse from Deuteronomy, which says you have to take care of yourselves. And that includes, don't step off the top of tall buildings, don't step out into traffic, don't take medicine or anything into your body that can hurt you, follow medical. All of those things are under that category. Mm-hmm. And similarly, there's no category that says, pay your taxes on time or generate multiple streams of income. But what it does say is that you have to work for 6 days a week productively, not 5, 6, and that earning money and making money is a very good thing, because it plays off the verse in chapter 2, verse 16, I think it is. And God said it's not good for man to be alone. And money is God's way of incentivizing us to take care of one another and to serve one another. And
I
so,
love that concept. I've never heard it framed that way. That is phenomenal.
No, Michelle, that's why you need a rabbi. I keep telling you that.
Listen, I'm a Messianic Jew, so I grew up Jewish, bat mitzvah, the whole shebang, gave my life to Christ in my 20s. So my foundation is my Jewish heritage, and so I had a rabbi. But Rabbi, I believe I'm going to adopt you.
I have.
You got it.
I'm on board on the train.
Thank you for accepting. Thank you. Yeah, one of the things you did say was we are made to complement each other. And it's just amazing. And Michelle, we were talking backstage that a lot of things that we've heard from Rabbi it's actually reinforcing a lot of the segments that we've had. So this is just really good. Someone asked you, Rabbi, why did you write this book? And you said to make money. And it's good. That was very, very good.
Because the only way to make money, look, there are two ways to make money. Let's be honest. The one way is to point a 357 Magnum revolver at somebody's head and say, "Give me your money," and you'll find that when you come home at the end of the day and your wife says, "How was your day, honey?" and you say, "Great," and she says, "How much did you make?" and you say, "Well, in my case, it's not so much make as take. I'm more in the taking than the making." She says, "Well, don't bother me with the details." And how much did you take? He says, I took $75. And so they're happy. They go out for dinner. That's one way of getting hold of money. The only other way is to persuade people to give it to you voluntarily. And the only way to do that is if you make their lives better in some way that is more valuable to them than the money you're asking, they'll do it. And so when I say, yes, I wrote the book to make money, what I'm really saying is I worked as hard as I could to come up with something that would be incredibly useful, that would be indispensable for anybody who really is interested in increasing their income and their revenue. And once I had managed to do that, I knew that I had something that would be worth money to other people. And so, yes, I did it to make money, because the only way to do that is to give over something of real value.
That's good. That's
Value
very, very
exchange. I love that. I love that. So in the video that I began watching, it was a series. You mentioned, and I can't remember if it was your grandfather or an uncle. It was a family member that started a business similar to eBay, where he would go asking for furniture from people, and if they didn't want it, and offer them less than what someone else had offered them, and then go and resell it to someone who was looking for the furniture. Talk to us more about that concept, because that is value, right? He was bringing value.
Well, it's not. He wasn't eBay. He was just. He was a peddler. He traveled from town to town and he knocked on doors. And he had things to sell and he would buy stuff. And so I gave an example of a day in the life of Grandpa Lapin, where I said that he knocked on the door and he said, "Do you have anything you don't need?" And the lady said, "Well, we've got our old table. We're getting rid of that." And he said, "Well, how are you getting rid of it?" She said, "Well, we put it outside in the alley, and on Tuesday, the city will come by with a truck and take it away." And Grandpa Lapin said, "Well, do they do that for free?" And she said, "Don't be silly. When does the city ever do anything for free? They're going to charge me $5 to take the table away." And so Grandpa Lapin says, "How would you like it if I gave you $5 and I took your table away?" She says, "I would grab that deal." He says, "Well, help me take the table out to my pickup truck and you got a deal." So he gives her $5. And here, Michelle, we have to do a little bit of arithmetic. So I don't know how, but if you had a Jewish background, I'm thinking you were okay with your math skills.
At least when it comes to money and finances, yes, sir.
So the question is, how much better off now is this lady because Grandpa Lapin knocked on her door than had she waited for the city?
Well, most people say $5, right? But I believe you said it was 10.
Why?
Previously, because she's able to the city with the 5, and then the 5 from Grandpa Lapin. But I'm not quite clear, obviously, on why that's
think about. Let's imagine you're that lady, and let's say you have $100 in your bank. That's your money. That's how much money you got. Now, when the city comes by and takes the table, how much money do you have now?
If they're taking 5, then I have $95.
You got $95 left. But now we don't do that. You tell the city to leave you alone, and you do a deal with my grandfather, and he gives you $5. So how much have you got in your bank account now?
105.
And so what's the difference between what the city, what would have happened to the city deal and what happens now. It's the difference
That's where the
between
10 is.
it's
Yes.
95 and 105. And that difference is $10.
Yes, sir.
And so then he knocks on another door. And now I'm saving time. I'm not going to take all the time with the doors that nobody answered, or they told him to go away. That also happens in real life. So, but he knocked on a door and he said, "Anyone here need a table?" But first, before he did that, he stopped at the hardware store and got some paint and a nail, and he nailed up the wobbly leb and he painted away the scratches. And then he knocks on this door, and the lady says, "Well, my daughter's getting married next week. She'd probably want a table." And they ask her to come out, and Grandpa Lapin says to her, "What were you going to do for a table?" She says, "Well, I was going to buy a table at the store." And Grandpa Lapin said, "And how much would that run you?" She said, "About $20. Grandpa Lapin says, "Well, I got one you can have for 10. Come take a look at it." Now, mind, it had a wobbly leg I nailed up. It had scratches that I painted out, but see what you think. And she looks at the table and she says, "That's great. I'd much rather pay $10 than $20 for a table."
Mm-hmm.
And so how many dollars is this family better off now because Grandpa Lapin knocked on their door?
$10, right?
I'm all nervous now. Well, they're better by $10 because they saved the $10.
Precisely. They would have had to pay 20, which was what their plan was.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're going to buy this one for 10. So they got an extra 10 in their pocket they never knew they had because they were budgeting to spend 20. So far, just these two families in the village are each off better by $10 for a total of $20. So it's no wonder that the village used to love when Grandpa Lapin came through, because everybody felt richer after he left. And they were. Now, Michelle, if you get the next question right, then I'm going to give you top marks. The next question is, Grandpa Lapin spent $1 on nails and paint at the hardware store. So not only did family number one make $10, and not only did family number two benefit $10, but the hardware store's got $1 in his till that he didn't know that he was going to have. So that's $21 in the village that's better off than they were before Grandpa Lapin came and did his thing. Here's my question. If you can answer this, you go straight to the top of the class. And this question is, how much money is now in Grandpa Lapin's pocket as a result of these three little transactions? Family one, family two, and hardware store.
I'm going to say $4. Yes, my degree paid off.
How did you do that?
Because the $5 that Grandpa Lapin got from the first family, he spent $1 of that.
He didn't get 5 from the first. He paid 5.
He paid 5, but okay.
You're doing it backwards, which is exactly the right way to do it. Start with family number two. They put
family
$10.
number two, he got $10.
They put $10 in his pocket. You're doing it exactly right. And then he put $1 in the hardware store.
So that's 9.
Which leaves 9. And he gave 5 to the first family.
Which leaves the 4.
And there's your 4. That's how you got your answer. I muddled you up in a way, but you had it exactly right.
So what I take from that, though, really is Grandpa Lapin brought service and value to the community, and they exchanged it for financial, resources.
He brought them real money. He assisted in transactions. The reason eBay comes into it, because if you think about it, eBay is like 70,000 Grandpa Lapins all working at the same time. eBay buys stuff from some people, sells stuff to other people, and there's $4 left in their pocket at the end of the day.
So everybody wins, and that's really a foundation.
Everybody wins, and that's what people
is.
don't understand about business.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
That was great. That was great.
There's economics in one lesson.
I love it. Rabbi, you have proven yourself. I'm officially adopted into your family. I'm
So,
coming for Passover.
so Rabbi, at this stage of my life, I'm really looking at what can be deposited into the next generation, like the whole legacy thing. What wisdom can you give us of how to best service this generation?
Um, could you just give me a bit more clarification on? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not really understanding your question.
Sure. So I know with a lot of Jewish families, they in their communities, they look out for each other. You know, they look at each other's education, or they assist with education, and even some of the principles that are taught. So I'm just looking at what can we do as a whole to groom our youth for
What can we do as a?
as a community to groom our youth for what's going on in the world today, for their future.
But you're not a community. You're an individual.
I am.
You are part of a community, just like
Yes.
me.
Yes.
But sometimes when we say, what can we do as a world? What can we do as a country? What can we do as a community? We end up doing nothing because we can't. We don't have that power.
Hmm.
And so really the only worthwhile question is, what can I do?
Well, Rabbi, what can I do?
And
Make money.
what insights do Jewish people implement that we can take away and implement ourselves? In reference to legacy building and passing on the wisdom of business and the spirituality of
You know,
finance.
there was a funny line. Do you remember a Broadway musical of years ago called Fiddler on the Roof?
Yes.
There was a line there that if I was a rich man, people would listen to me and they'd think I was wise. People don't listen to broke people.
Oh, that's so good.
And so if you want to have influence, whether it's on a generation or on a community, then you need to make money. It's as simple as that. And in so doing, you're helping everybody, just like Grandpa Lapin did. So you're not taking, you're making. There's a big difference between taking money and making money. When you make money, you're helping everybody around you.
That
And
was good.
and when that happens, you're much more influential.
Thank you. I totally accept that. That's wonderful. I've got about 3 more minutes of your time, and I want to help people know where can they get business secrets from the Bible. I have it from Amazon. I got Audible. So where can
Yeah.
people find your book?
Well, you can definitely get it from Amazon, and you can get it from Audible. You can get the Audible one, but it's also important, I think, for me to mention that I make available video training as well, where you can actually take a video course on my website called the Financial Prosperity Collection. It's 10 hours where I am your personal trainer.
Love that. Can you repeat the name of that again? The
It's
financial.
called the Financial Prosperity Collection. And the name of my website is rabbidaniellapin.com.
That's very easy to remember.
And
Thank
for
you for
people
that.
who find that hard, you can also do youneedarabbi.com.
I love it. I love it. And your YouTube
Oh, I
channel
did
as
it
well.
wrong.
You have a
Yes.
YouTube channel as well.
Yes, there's a lot of good information on the YouTube channel. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, if you're listening or watching, Google machine is your friend. And if you type in Rabbi Daniel Lapin, it will come up for you to click and connect. And then it's right there on the screen for you as well.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. It's like, there are probably 20 things that you each can do that would baffle me. I mean, I watched somebody make an omelet the other day, and I was just astounded because I've tried a few times and it turns into a soggy mess. There's a way to do everything right and a lot of ways to do it wrong.
Mhm.
So, I told the story of how my father once gave me a mechanical clock and told me to try and fix it. And I took it all apart, and I ended up with, 30 little wheels and springs and things. And then I started trying to put it together. And finally, I was a little kid. I was just so frustrated. I just threw the whole thing away. And I said, I don't understand. What were you trying to do? You knew I wasn't going to be able to fix it. He says, yeah, I knew you weren't going to be able to fix it, but I wanted you to learn a lesson. And that is that there's one right way to assemble a clock and thousands of wrong ways. And so there's a lot of wrong ways to try and live your life financially, a lot of wrong ways. But there's only one right way. And that's what I am here in this world to teach.
Oh, I love that. And we all can access that. We all have something of value to offer.
Yeah.
And again, that was Financial Prosperity.
The Financial Prosperity Collection is
okay.
you'll find that at RabbiDanielLapin.com.
Thank you.
And it's an online video training course. It's great.
Rabbi, I want to thank you so much for being here with us and for the wisdom that you have dropped. I personally thank you, and I have personally been blessed by you being on While We Wait today. And thank you so much.
you take care of yourselves and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for having me on. Lots of blessings.
Thank you, sir.
Received, and you are so appreciated. Thank you.
Wow,
Ooh.
Michelle.
Wait, we have to do a segment on unpacking, because there was so much wisdom and gold in just that short amount of time. And really, if we implement some of the concepts, I mean, transformation of our lives as a person, in the spiritual, and then also, in business as well. RabbiDanielLapin.com and the Financial Prosperity Collection. I encourage everyone listening, everyone watching to go and tap in, because listen, you can only enhance your life if you actually take the action. So I encourage you to do it.
That was great. Don't be broke. That right there all by itself. Don't be broke. I'm good. If you want to be influential,
Get the money. But it's true. People do listen to you when you have money, and we can see that for the positive and the negative.
It's the truth, but it is what it is. It is the truth. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this segment. I'm not certain if you know who was just on here, but Rabbi is world renowned, and look him up and go on YouTube and look at his stuff, and then apply it. Yeah, and then apply it. Then apply it. I am certainly honored. Thank you, everyone, for being on today to learn some of the business secrets from the Bible. Get the book. It will definitely increase your wisdom and bless your life if you implement it. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. And thank you to my podcast listeners. So glad that you all are here today, and I hope you have a great and wonderful rest of your day.
See you next week.
See you. Same time, same bad station. Oh, man. Have a good one.
I stay wise. I live peace in my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live